My name's Ed Piskor.
I'm Jim Rugg.
What do you got here, Jimmy?
Octobriana, 1976, my latest comic book, the world's first blacklight comic book about the Russian underground superhero. This thing it was distributed widely this week to all comic shops, so get it in person at your local comic shop, order it online, wherever you get comics. It is now available, and it has led to my latest project.
What's that?
Blacklight Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles poster that's available from Nickelodeon and iam8bit.com. I'll post a link below this video. That's available until October 13th. So if you like my artwork and if you love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this is for you.
Patreon.com/Ed Piskor. I'm serializing my Red Room comic strips up there. For the early adopters, it's going to see the light of day in a proper print edition 2021. Going to try to do it on a monthly basis. But for now, the people who can't wait, who can't hold their horses, as my dad says, $3 get you the archive, and I put new strips out there every Tuesday. It was a 3-page week this week. I got 133 pages drawn so far, man, of maybe 200 more to go.
Looks amazing.
Let's take a look at Stephen King's Creepshow, man, drawn by the late, great Bernie Wrightson.
A lot of exciting stuff in this one.
Yes.
Stephen King, obviously, Pittsburgh's own George A. Romero behind the film, but Bernie Wrightson, man, who could possibly be better for drawing a comic like this?
Totally, man. And let's not give short shrift to this cover art by the great Jack Kamen, who was a part of the great EC tradition. Interesting to see what his artwork looks like in early 1980s. This is good comics from 1982. This could have been drawn a little bit earlier. And you know something else I discovered? Jack Kamen's son is Dean Kamen, the creator of the Segway.
Yes.
Trivia.
And shout out Michelle Wrightson on art credits, so I assume coloring. We've seen other work where those two collaborate on color, and it looks very similar to this.
And this is just a very faithful adaptation of the Creepshow movie, which was inspired by the EC comics. So it's this ping pong effect of influence, right? And this is the Bernie Wrightson vault keeper, crypt keeper kind of character. 1982. This is the 5th printing. So this is one of the comics that's never talked about, probably just because it's a movie adaptation or whatever, but it transcended the comic shops. You would find this in any bookstores, any well-done bookstores, in the Stephen King department.
I was going to say, this is one you could find in libraries, too, before libraries were stocking books, I'm sure because of the Stephen King connection.
Sure.
But hey, whatever it takes. Pretty nice production values, too. We looked at some Marvel graphic novels from the 80s that have that nicer paper and they're able to do like painted reproductions. You see a similar aesthetic here on display.
Oh, there it is. I want my cake. It's Father's Day, and I got my cake. I love this flick. I'm such a mark for freaking Creepshow. 2 is the one that we saw most, man, because that was on HBO most, and there was boobs in that one.
This is Wrightson with his fastball. This is, he was great for decades and known for sort of that feathering, that beautiful inking ability that very few cartoonists have. He had it, and it is on display here.
He's like, the old timers, when they give you some instruction, they tell you, you're not inking line. You got to think dirt. You got to think grass. You got to think granite. And I get that when I look at Wrightson's work. Like, I think he was able to zone out and just create the textures of, like, these different objects and stuff that he's trying to get across. It's Father's Day, and I got my cake. I love that shit, dude. And there would be, in the movie, if you remember, there would be these lighted gels that would blast blue light and red light and stuff to give it that comic book vibe.
It's always fun to see filmmakers doing that, trying to bring a certain comic aesthetic, and it is often the color.
Yeah, the Dick Tracy movie comes to mind.
Yeah, what a spread.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of great color, man, the blues there and with the green, very unusual color palette for a spread like this. Perfect, looks great.
It's a perfect Bernie Wrightson story too, man, because it's a Swamp Thing, basically.
That lettering, too, I feel like a generation or two has copied that style of lettering, that 3D style of title lettering.
This is the Stephen King short story where he acts as the little bumpkin dude, touches the meteor, and it all goes downhill for him. The thing that Stephen King got wrong with Creepshow is that innocent people got hurt with no repercussion. Like, that didn't happen in EC Comics.
Hey, things got more complex as the decades go by, right?
I guess so, man. It was very jaded. And it's like, you know, we like this guy, and they just don't give him... He has a bad time, we'll say. If you saw this in black and white, man, it's almost like shades of the feathering and stuff that would be in the Frankenstein book. Here we go, man. Everything he touches after he touched that meteor is starting to sprout some vegetation. That looks a little like Stephen King from the flick.
Yeah.
A lot of these are kind of his own interpretation, but
Yeah, this is fun.
we know how this is going to end.
Oh.
See what I mean? He didn't hurt nobody. And that's what he gets for his trouble.
What can you do?
Jim, where do you stand on lycanthropy, man? When in your horror? Me, it bores me.
You know, I was going to ask about when did he do Psycho the Werewolf? Is that something that comes after?
I don't know.
Because I wonder about, Stephen King must have been happy with Wrightson to work with him more than once.
Oh, they worked with each other even on the what is that, a gunslinger shit? Like, I think Wrightson did some work for that too. Oh, dude, this is a Wrightson connection, man. Adrienne Barbeau. She was in the Swamp Thing flick. I love the lighting of the grate.
Yeah, that's
On the
pretty
crate.
strong.
And he's known for building stuff and lighting things accurately. And
I think you have to if you ink the way he models light. I think you have to reference it somewhere for a lot of that stuff to work right. I mean, I don't know how you could do Frankenstein without setting up some sort of modeling and lighting sources and having more than just an understanding, but some references as necessary.
that feels very Wrightson right here.
Yeah.
This is my least favorite story of the first Creepshow.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about werewolves. I guess I'm not huge into them.
They just bore me. We got a lot of it in the 80s.
I'll tell you this, I don't like drawing them, and I usually don't like the way they're drawn.
Yeah,
It's hard to do a good-looking werewolf drawing, I think.
agreed. Ted Danson? Remember that? I think I saw Naked Gun first. So when you see Leslie Nielsen as a bad guy, it's very unsettling.
That's funny.
And look at this, man, how old school. You have to bring out your cathode ray tube and have extension cords and shit like that.
Yeah, people watching this have no idea. If you're under a certain age, it's like TV used to be deeper than the screen was wide.
One of my great fears when I learned about the dangers of electricity as a little kid was, what happens if somebody throws a television into the ocean? Does it kill all fish?
Right. Yeah, that's funny. That's like the little kid logic of like, that's pretty good.
Well, if you drop it into the tub and it kills you, it must kill all fish.
I was just reading about pirates that they would execute in London, and they would like chain them down, I guess, at low tide, and then the tides would come up.
Ah, dude, maybe Stephen King was referencing that when...
Nothing's new, Ed.
It's true, man. No Marco Polos any longer, man. And Sam Malone is getting his due right here. It's probably the most disturbing image in the whole thing. A naked Leslie Nielsen. Boom. And this would have been like these kind of electricity light. It almost signifies like whenever in the flick there would be those crazy color gels.
That's funny to think of like the movie, the cinematographer or lighting guy trying to adapt comics, and then the comics trying to adapt the movie effect that was trying to adapt the comics.
Yeah, it's all this circle of influence. I could hold my breath a long time. With the pregnant pauses, too.
Man, any of the buried up to your neck stories, always the worst.
Yeah.
It's that waking up paralyzed kind of human fear.
Now, this one has the Pittsburgh Comic-Con connection, because Tom Savini did the special effects for this shit, and whenever Tom Savini would be chilling at the Pittsburgh Comic-Con, he would have that fucking dick gun from Dusk Till Dawn, and then he would have the sort of model, the prosthetic guy that all the bugs come out the mouth, and that would be like one of the super striking things at his little booth. But this is that germaphobe guy. See, the bummer is that, like an EC comic, it's all lead up to like the 1 or 2 pages of payoff, and it's just like you just want to see Wrightson going for it always. Now, the cool thing, just like in the flick, he's the germaphobe guy, and everywhere he's not looking, you see the bugs on everything, right? Reminds me of some of the ninja drawings you did for McSweeney's or wherever that was, man. Just all those like camoed ninjas. And it just gets more excessive, right?
Bugs are always another gross one. I always
Super
think of like
gross.
Temple of Doom whenever he has to put his hand into that to open the door, and it's just all the bugs and shit.
Yeah.
It is fun to, like these are all just the fears, like like the most common human kind of fears. Like if you were to rate the top 10, probably these are all on that list somewhere.
Right. More and more and more. Everywhere he's not looking, dude. Like every plane that he can't see, and it's drawn so well. Look at that. Until this is an homage to his own work. Remember those frogs? And some of the frogs are on wheelchairs and stuff. It's like one of his most famous stories where there are all these like little frog. It's a House of Mystery or something if it's not a Warren. I think it is a DC book because I remember color. We're getting close to the money shot. You want the money shot, right? You ready for it? Can you handle it? Oh, dude, look at how now that is one of the
That's
fears.
great. Yeah. See, that's worse than seeing the bugs.
Yeah. That's a nightmare. All right, let's see how he pulled it off, man.
Horrible. It's so bad. Bugs in the mouth is always a winner.
Yeah, for sure.
There should be one in the ear though. That's another spot. It's a good opener.
Agreed. And this should have been a multi-page sequence so that you could just see like
A lot of
bugs
movement.
like pushing
Yeah.
past the eye and all that kind of thing, man. And of course, you got to have your punny crypt keeper kind of character.
Wonder how many copies this thing sold. This must have been a massive seller with Stephen King, with a major movie behind it, with bookstore distribution, libraries. Like, I bet this thing sold just a million.
Off the bat, like I got this copy off of a lady who doesn't read comics but had this, and I could think of maybe 2 or 3 other people in my life who don't have any comics in their life except this because they're such marks for Stephen King.
Makes sense to me. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure this reached a lot of people.
For sure.
That would not normally go where comics are, even.
And at this time, Bernie Wrightson was too expensive for Jobber Comics. He would have been doing Ghostbusters designs and stuff around this time, man. So you want a Bernie Wrightson comic, you're going to have to pay for it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Anyhow, Creepshow.
It's a classic.
October, Halloween time. We have to cover that.
I wonder how many how many people watching this video were unaware of this comic.
We'll find out.
That's the funny part is, on one hand, it probably sold incredibly well, and on the other hand, I didn't see this in comic shops very much.
It's funny you say that because I don't think I've ever seen this in the comic shop. Well, maybe like a Ides or something, but that's funny you say that. Anyhow, Kayfabers, like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell. We'll notify you when the next vids are available. Octobriana, it's in comic shops right this very minute.
Yes, and you can order the Blacklight Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles poster that I designed until October 13th. There's a link below the video to that.
You don't have to wait till the year 2021 to get a hold of the Red Room comics when they hit paper, because early adopters can hit my Patreon up. $3 get you the archive. Patreon.com/EdPiskor.
Perfect for this Halloween season.
Agreed. Or any season.
That's true.
Valentine's Day.
Wait until we sell it for Christmas.
What else we have?
You can subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe e-newsletter to keep up with all the videos we've been doing daily lately, as well as anything else we have going on. You can find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts and merchandise at the links below the video.
I need to go work on an EC formatted style Red Room comic, Jimmy.
That's a great idea, Ed.
Give them their marching orders, dude.
Read more comics.